welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is Dr. Tang. He is the medical director of peripheral vascular services at MemorialCare Saddleback, and also vascular and endovascular surgeon. So hopefully I got that all correct.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I understand you're on the show about 6 months ago with Lisa Hart.
I love it.
So yeah, that's been a while ago, so I'm so glad to have you back.
Same seat, same lighting. Happy to be here. Thank you.
So tell me about your background. What was the path that led you to become a surgeon?
Yeah, so, coming out of medical school, you decide whether you're going to be a medical doctor or you're going to be a surgical doctor, right? Medicines versus surgery. And I chose the surgery route, did a residency in general surgery, and then became a specialized surgeon in vascular surgery. Highly technical, complex operations, very difficult, challenging patients, and I get a lot of joy from that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So why the vascular and the endovascular surgery?
Yeah, so vascular surgery is a highly technical operation. It requires a lot of handwork for sewing blood vessels, taking blood vessels apart, and putting it back together. And part of the endovascular surgery, so vascular and endovascular surgery, meaning that we place stents, we do angioplasties, we do things with through catheters and small punctures, so minimally invasive operations. And so those are really innovative things that we do. And so with a combination of two, it's really challenging. We love it.
So you like the challenge. I was going to ask, what is most challenging in this job?
Yeah, it's just the complexity and the technical demands of the actual operation itself.
Okay.
The patients and the disease process is very is challenging, but on the backside of it, the operation is the stuff that we really like.
What is most rewarding for you?
Yeah, I think bringing blood flow to an extremity, or fixing an aneurysm that was not there, that was threatening and now has gone away, or removing significant blockages and taking it out of a patient and sending it down to the lab. It's satisfying. As you mentioned earlier, you're woodworking. You get a product at the end of your operation, right? And so you have something that you can physically touch, feel, and see that is satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And
right.
Actually changing people's lives, giving them a second opportunity, right?
And that too.
Yeah. So you're also a medical director. And so what does this mean for you? What other stuff does this put on your plate for you now?
So in addition to my my patient care, taking care of patients, doing operations, counseling patients, seeing patients in the office, seeing patients in the hospital, I'm also involved as the medical director at MemorialCare Saddleback, and I take care of the vascular surgery, business side of things, business development side of things, compliance. I'm taking care of supplies, managing the administrative side of a lot of the patient care and relationships with physicians in the operating room, in the cath lab, and help with hospitals' interactions with compliance officers, with the state and other compliance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're doing a lot.
Yeah, it's an administrative role.
Yeah. And you're married, and so do you ever go home?
Plus the kids, right? Yeah, so unfortunately, and hopefully my wife isn't watching right now, but they take a back role sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's often work first, certainly patients first, and then the demands of the operation. You try to not take that home with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to have it's hard. You have to work on separating the two. Yeah.
Well, thank goodness for doctors like you, though.
Thank you.
So can you tell me the difference between cardiac and vascular?
Yeah, so we're here today to talk about the MemorialCare Heart and Vascular Institute. And so when we talk about heart and vascular, those are two separate entities, all based on the overall head-to-toe vascular system of the body. So when we talk about heart, it's the actual heart itself as a pump, the blood vessels to the heart, which is coronary arteries, coronary disease. And when we say vascular, we talk about the remainder of the body. So when I say I'm a vascular surgeon, they go, oh, you must operate on the heart. No, those are the heart surgeons, the cardiovascular surgeons, the heart surgeons. So I operate on all the blood vessels elsewhere in the body, everywhere else, plus outside of the brain.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right. Wow. So what kind of conditions do you treat in this for vascular and endovascular?
Yeah. So when we're talking about vascular, we're talking about all the blood vessels in your body, divided into arteries, veins, and people often forget there's a system called the lymphatics, which are connected by lymph nodes. And so the common diseases that we treat are those of the arteries and the veins. Arteries in which they become diseased and dilated, such as aneurysms, and I've given a couple presentations on that. We've talked about that on the show previous. Or blocked arteries, or we call peripheral arterial disease or peripheral vascular disease, in which the arteries are blocked with plaque, hardening of the arteries. That can happen in the heart, also gives you heart attacks. Blockages in the artery in your neck, called the carotid arteries, can give you strokes. Blockages in the arteries in your legs give you leg pain when you walk. And so those are on the arterial side of things. And then on the venous side of things, blood clots, varicose veins. And so these are things that we manage from neck to toe, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is probably one of the more common vascular conditions that affects people 55 and older?
Yeah, so vascular disease is a disease of aging. And I often say it's wrinkles and gray hair on the inside of your blood vessels, right? So if you say like osteoporosis, your bones have aged and become weak, the arteries do the same thing. And so arteries can become weak and dilate, and we call those aneurysms. And dangerous aneurysms in blood vessels throughout your body, specifically in your aorta, which is the main blood vessel in your body. Those vessels can dilate and they can rupture, and it puts you at risk for dying.
Wow.
So aortic aneurysm is a big one. And then also this aging of the blood vessels can lead to hardening of the arteries and filling those arteries with plaque, and such that the arteries are blocked. And those blockages, like I mentioned earlier, in the carotid arteries specifically, very common disease process that we deal with, puts you at risk for having a stroke.
So what are treatment? Well, first, how do you know that this is happening to diagnose it before you have the stroke or whatever?
For sure.
And then what are the treatment options?
Yeah. So let's say we talk about carotid disease or blockage of the arteries in the carotid. Part of the aging process, sped up by smoking, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity. And these blockages put you at risk for having a stroke. So how are you going to know if you have that? You got to talk to your doctor. Because the only way to identify those blockages is by examination, listening for what we call a bruit or rushing sounds in the neck with a stethoscope, or an ultrasound to look at those arteries directly to see if there's blockages there. And if those blockages are significant, then to see myself or my partners to be evaluated and talk about if there's benefit in having surgery in which we remove that blockage through an operation, or today we put stents through that operation, little wire mesh tubes to push that plaque to the side to manage those blockages to prevent strokes.
Okay. Wow. So and this is the types of things that are checked for, like when you go in for your yearly doctor's visit.
Talk to them about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say I saw Dr. Tang and I need to get my arteries checked.
So beyond this, are there any other vascular conditions that you encounter?
Yeah. So blocked arteries, right? So we talk about leg health. Patients with wounds in the legs that don't heal. It's due to you're not healing because there's blockages in the arteries. There's not enough blood flow down there. Or when you walk, you're playing golf at the golf course here, and you're walking 18 holes, and your legs hurt you when you walk. Well, that could be due to blocked arteries also, meaning that your muscles aren't getting the blood flow that it wants when you're walking.
Yeah, my grandmother, I know she always struggled with circulation in the legs. It was a big problem. So what can residents do to prevent these conditions?
Yeah, so first and foremost, work with your primary care doctor, right? Work through your regular doctor on managing your health conditions. And when we talk about that, your health conditions, I mentioned those risk factors for having hardening of the artery. So if you're a smoker, stop smoking. If you have high cholesterol, manage your high cholesterol, high blood pressure, tight blood sugar control if you're a diabetic, weight control, and then most importantly, exercise. And even my personal doctor says, hey, listen, you need to have exercise. Everybody needs to have exercise. And I like the way that he described that to me is he wanted me to do sweaty exercises. Exercises in which you're sweating. And so that's a good gauge to know whether I'm doing enough, is if you're sweating.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. So, and I understand MemorialCare is hosting a vascular event here in the community later this month.
That's right. That's
Tell us about this event.
So it's a panel with myself and my two other partners, Dr. Deering, Dr. Sharma. Unfortunately, my other partner, Dr. Dunsing, will not be able to make that meeting. It'll be in the evenings. They'll be here on campus here at Laguna Woods Village. We're going to be joined by special guests, one of our operating room lead nurses, Wendy Leone, as well as our cath lab staff, a staff technologist, Diane, who will be with us also. So we'll have a nice panel. We're going to talk about all these different vascular diseases. We'll go through kind of the nuts and bolts without getting too caught up in the weeds. And then we'll have an interactive discussion with the audience, question and answers, and to talk about vascular disease, raise awareness, answer any burning questions, and celebrate our vascular program here at MemorialCare Saddleback.
Oh, wonderful. Love it. Definitely going to be very educational.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for coming on today and telling us about this. It
Thank you.
was so nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So to learn more about the MemorialCare Vascular event, please visit memorialcare.org/LW Vascular. And be sure to register for the Vascular Health 101 panel coming up this month. It'll be on Tuesday, November 14th at 7 p.m. in Clubhouse 5 by calling Jessica at 949-452-3791. Come learn about common conditions, treatments, and helpful prevention tips. Stay with us. We'll have more of This Day right after this.